Hello everyone. Today we are going to take a brief journey through the Malaysian architecture, starting off with its history from the pre-colonial period to the present day. Let's get started. First, let's talk about the pre-colonial period. During this time, traditional Malay architecture was predominant. Malay houses known as rumah kampung were typically wooden structures built on stilts. These houses had steep thatched roof from atap, which are palm leaves, and walls made from woven bamboo or wooden planks. This design was highly functional, protecting homes from floods and allowing for better ventilation in the tropical climate. Indigenous influences were also significant. The Orang Asli and other native tribes used local materials and techniques perfectly suited to the environment. Their architectural styles were simple yet effective, reflecting a deep understanding of the local climate and resources. Moving on to the colonial period, which spans from the 16th to the 20th century, we see a diverse range of influences. First, the Portuguese, who ruled from 1511 to 1641, introduced European architectural styles, particularly in fortifications and churches. The A Famosa Fort in Malacca is a notable example of their legacy. Next, the Dutch took over from 1641 to 1824. They brought their own architectural styles, characterized by solid, sturdy buildings. St. Paul's Church in Malacca is a predominant example of Dutch influence. Finally, the British colonial period, lasting from 1824 to 1957. This period had the most significant impact. British architecture in Malaysia is a mix of Victorian, Neoclassical, and Tudor styles. The Sultan Abdul Samad building in Kuala Lumpur is a key example, along with various colonial-era bungalows and administrative buildings that still stands today. Post-independence, starting from 1957, marked the rise of modernist architecture in Malaysia. The 1960s to 1980s saw buildings characterized by the use of concrete, glass, and steel. Notable examples from this era include the National Mosque, also known as Masjid Negara, and the Dayabumi Complex. From the 1980s to the present, we've seen a blend of postmodernism and revivalism. This period emphasizes the combination of modern design with traditional Islamic and Malay motifs. The most iconic example is the Petronas Twin Tower, which seamlessly integrates modern architecture elements with Islamic geometric patterns symbolizing Malaysia's progress and cultural heritage. In conclusion, the history of Malaysian architecture is a rich tapestry of indigenous styles, colonial influences, and modern innovations. From the traditional Malay houses to the towering Petronas Twin Tower, each period has left a unique mark on the architectural landscape of Malaysia.
Thank you, Mr. Ladrido. Hey everyone, let's dive into some fascinating Malaysian terminologies related to mosques and their architecture. First up, we have the masjid, which is the Arabic word for mosque. Think of it as the heartbeat of Muslim communities in Malaysia, where people gather not just for prayers, but also to connect, learn, and celebrate. Malaysia, being a predominantly Muslim country, is dotted with these two incredible mosques. Two standout examples are the National Mosque of Malaysia, or Masjid Negara, with its stunning blue roof, and the majestic Putra Mosque in Putrajaya, which seems to float on water. These places aren't just for worship; they're a feast for the eyes and the testaments of Malaysia's rich Islamic heritage. Next, let's talk about the mihrab. It's that little niche in the mosque wall that points the way to Mecca, which Muslims face during prayer. In Malaysian mosques, mihrabs are like the VIP section of design. They're often adorned with breathtaking Islamic calligraphy and intricate tilework that's nothing short of artwork. It's not just about the erection, it's about bringing beauty and spirituality together in one spot. Now on to the minaret. Picture this. A tall, elegant tower reaching up to the sky, calling out Adhan or the call to prayer, echoing across neighborhoods. In Malaysia, minarets are more than just towers. They're symbols of faith and community beacons. You can spot them from miles away, adding an unmistakable skyline to towns and cities. They're like Malaysia's way of saying, Islam is alive and vibrant here. Let's move on to the minbar, which is basically the mosque's version of a stage. It's where the imam stands to deliver sermons, especially on Fridays when mosques are packed for Jumu'ah's prayers. Malaysian mosques features minbars that are as beautifully crafted as they are important, with designs that match the mosque's interior vibe. The minbar isn't just for talking, it's where wisdom and guidance are shared with the community. Finally, let's chat about arabesques. If you love art, this one's for you. Arabesque is all about those intricate swirling patterns that you see all over Islamic art and architecture. In Malaysia, you'll find these stunning designs everywhere, from mosque to cultural buildings. They symbolize infinity and unity, tying together the spiritual and the artistic in one glorious display. In a nutshell, these terms aren't just words, they're the threads that weave together the vibrant Malaysian Islamic culture. From mosques architecture to the artistry of arabesques, it's all about celebrating faith, beauty, and community. Thank you.
Salamat tinggal hari. For building influences in Malaysia, we have 4 parts: geographical, climate, social, and religious. Let's start with geographical. Malaysia is situated in the heart of Central Southeast Asia, bordering Thailand in the north, with Singapore to the south, and Indonesia to the south and west. It is composed of peninsular Malaysia and the states of Sabah and Sarawakon, the north coast in the island of Borneo. Peninsular Malaysia is an area of forested mountain ranges running from north to south, on either side of which are low-lying coastal plains. The buildings were raised on stilts, and timber was largely used for building structures. Atap or nipatak and clay tiles roof were commonly used in both the mosques and Malay houses. Next, we have the climate. Malaysia is located on the equatorial region and has a tropical rainforest climate. Malaysia's climate is categorized as equatorial, being hot and humid throughout the year. The climates of the peninsula and the east differ, as the climate of the peninsula is directly affected by wind from the mainland, as opposed to the maritime weather of the east. Malaysia is exposed to the El Niño effect, which reduces rainfall in the dry season. Due to the possibility of flooding from heavy monsoon rainfalls, they often have pitched roofs raised on stilts above ground, higher ceilings, larger side openings, grills, and stilts help with ventilation in the warm, humid climate. Verandas or porches are also present at the front of the house. For social influences, many indigenous people of Borneo, the Dayak, and the Kadazan Dusun live in buildings known as the Rumah Bumbong Panjang, or the longhouses. Commonly, the longhouses are built raised off the ground on stilts similar to the Malay houses, but are divided into a more or less public area along one side and a row of private living quarters lined along the other side. The entire architecture is designed and built as a standing tree with branches to the left and right, with the front part facing the sunrise while the back faces the sunset. The longhouse building acts as the normal accommodation and a house of worship for religious activities. In some parts of the Sabah and Labuan, a substantial number of indigenous people, like the Bajau and the Bornean Malay, still live in water villages. These water villages are also built on stilts, with houses connected with planks and most transport by traditional boats. Lastly, for the religious influence, Malaysia is a multicultural and a multi-confessional country. As of the 2010 population and housing census, 61.3% of the population practices Islam, Islam, being the dominant religion in Malaysia, has greatly influenced the architecture of mosques. In Malaysia, traditional architecture reflects the diverse cultural heritage of the country, influenced by Malay and indigenous cultures and also colonial countries. Some of the prominent types of traditional buildings include mosques, housing. Two types of housing being Rumah Melayu, with its variant Rumah Panggang, and Rumah Kampung, with its variant Rumah Bumbung Panjang. Mosques. The first mosques were modeled on the place of worship of the Prophet Muhammad, the courtyard of his house at Medina, and were simply plots of ground marked out as sacred. Though the mosque, as such, had undergone many architectural changes, the building remains essentially an open space, generally roofed over, containing a mihrab and a minbar, with a minaret sometimes attached to it. The mihrab, a semicircular niche reserved for the imam to lead the prayer. The minbar is a platform with 3 steps. Often it is constructed as a domed box at the top of a staircase and is reached through a doorway that can be closed. Minarets are constructed in a wide variety of forms, ranging from thick, squat, and spiral ramps. Often, the minaret is square at the base, where it is attached to a mosque.
Welcome to Architectural Journey of Malaysia, a land where diverse cultural influences and rich history converge to create a unique architectural landscape. Our journey begins with the traditional homes of the Malay archipelago, Borneo longhouses. These are large communal homes built on stilts, designated to accommodate entire communities. Made from timber and bamboo with thatched roofs, they're perfectly adapted to the tropical climate, offering protection against flooding and wild animals. Indian, Chinese, and Arab traders brought their unique architectural styles to Malaysia. Indian influence introduced Hindu Buddhist architecture. It is evident in ancient temples and stupas. Chinese features like curved roofs and intricate wooden carvings are seen in clan houses and temples. The Arab influence introduced Islamic architectural elements such as mosque with domes and minaret. Notable examples include St. Paul's Hills in Malacca, featuring the ruins of Portuguese-built church, and the colonial buildings in Penang, such as the City Hall and the Penang Supreme Court. Examples of Islamic architecture in Malaysia include the Masjid Negara with its unique star-shaped dome and modernist design, and the Masjid Putra known for its pink dome and stunning Persian-inspired architecture. European influences during the British colonial period introduced Victorian, Gothic, and Art Deco styles. The Sultan Abdul Samad building in Kuala Lumpur showcases a blend of Moorish, Gothic, and Western styles, while the colonial district in Georgetown features well-preserved colonial-era buildings like the Pinang Peranakan and Mansion, Fort Cornwallis. In the post-independence era, Malaysia saw the emergence of contemporary styles that blend modern design with traditional elements. Iconic structures like the Petronas Twin Towers, designed by Cesar Pelli, symbolizes Malaysia's modernization and growth. The Kuala Lumpur Tower, a telecommunications tower, reflects Malaysia's technological advancement. Notable Malaysian architects have made significant contributions to the modern architecture. Hijas Kasturi is known for his modernist designs, including the Menara Telecom and Putrajaya International Convention Center. Ken Yang, a pioneer in ecological architecture, is famous for his bioclimatic skyscrapers and sustainable design principles. Tan Peiying, known as the Iron Lady of Architecture in Malaysia, has battled against gender inequality to become one of the country's leading architects. She has designed some of Malaysia's most recognizable buildings, including the 101 Mall in Puchong and the Marriott Hotel in 101 City Mall in Putrajaya. Malaysia's architectural landscape is a testament to its rich cultural heritage and historical influences, from traditional homes to modern skyscrapers. Each structure tells a story of adaptation, innovation, and resilience.